Alright guys, welcome to another terrible low quality YouTube video. We're going to talk a little bit about the International 234 here. Unfortunately, this one's getting ready to go to a new home. We've had some changes. I picked up this tractor for $2,000 with the belly mower, a 4-foot finishing mower, and a 4-foot brush hog. I sold the 4-foot finishing mower for like $500. I've got somebody that wants the brush hog for $500, and I'm trading this for a John Deere 420 plus an extra $500. So I got $1,500 back on my return. We had to put a little bit of time into it, but realistically, a lot of it was just cleaning things up on it. These are awesome machines. I really wish it was four-wheel drive, because if it was four-wheel drive, I probably would keep it forever. But let's just get to the basics. These are pretty big tires. They're 9.5 18s, so they measure about 31, 32 inches. They're fairly narrow though. That's why we've got the chains on there, because everything we have here is extremely hilly. It just makes life so much easier. Below it, we've got the Woods 60-inch mower. That is every bit of 60 inches, which, as you could tell, my trailer is 60 inches wide. And yeah, that's how much clearance we had on both sides. It just barely came up on here. Thank the good Lord it did. But it fits. Coming around the front, these are a 3-cylinder Mitsubishi. They're basically somewhere between an MT160 and MT180 Mitsubishi. It's a 0.8 liter. I want to say it's around 51 cubic inches, 850-ish cc's. These things have plenty of power. They're rated at something like 19 horsepower, something like that. I will tell you, if you compare these to like a 25 horsepower Kohler gas engine, these little 3-cylinder diesels will blow them out of the water, even at a comparable CC. Just the amount of torque, they just don't bog down. Even with that big 60-inch mower, and it is every bit of 60 inches, it does fine, even in thick, tall grass. I mean, there's nothing. People get really hung up on horsepower numbers, and horsepower numbers, they give you a general idea, but really what's important is torque. As we all know, diesels make big torque, as well as your big displacement Onins and stuff. They may only be rated at 20 horsepower, but those things are typically like 800 cc's. Even some of your older Kohlers, like what is it, don't quote me on this, but like the 534 family, they typically are in the high 700, mid 800 cc range. And once again, they may only be rated at 20 horsepower, but they feel like a much stronger engine. But going back to these diesels, you can't beat them. Its SIPS fuel probably gets double the fuel economy of a light-minded gas engine, and they're pretty low maintenance. The only thing you really have, and this one's been obviously patched because it had cracked, but you've got your little fuel filter here. They're fairly cheap to replace. Fuel tank on top, it's like 4 or 5 gallons. Let's open the hood here. Little mechanically injected 3-cylinder diesel, liquid cooled. What I really like about this one is it does not use thermal principles or thermodynamics like some small diesels. It does have a water pump, and on the other side, something I really like about it is they have a traditional alternator, and that is a 35 amp Mitsubishi alternator, so it provides plenty of power for everything you need. You've got space for a full-size car battery. If you want to run one, I recommend it for the extra weight. You have rear PTO, you have rear 3-point lift, and then of course you've got the electric PTO for the belly mower. So you have front and back. You can run a belly mower off that or a snow blower. It's a pretty awesome setup. Air filter assembly, just a typical basic 3-cylinder diesel. These are fairly quiet for what they are. Going back here, we've got the good stuff. So we've probably gotten some moisture down in the transmission where it's been sitting, but you can see right there, these are notorious for leaking out the top. What happens is water gets in there and fills up the case. I've got, he's already aware of this, but I've got several gallons of fresh transmission fluid, so we'll go ahead and change it out. It's like a hydraulic fluid that goes in here. Here you have your high-low range, 3-4 gears, 1 reverse, your rear PTO. You have a tachometer, which is always nice, a true tachometer, and you have a fuel gauge, which is really nice. You also have high temperature, low oil pressure, and a volt indicator light, which, you know, it's definitely nice to have those. You can set your speed up and down for your PTO, and so on and so forth. Probably most importantly, right here, rear differential lock. A must if you're gonna have any sort of small tractor. And on the back here, it's like a Cat 1, nothing super special. It's either, I can't remember if it's a Cat 0 or Cat 1 on this, but it's a smaller 3-point. You can see your PTO down there. You've got a little drawbar. And these things are pretty beefy. The only thing I really wish they would have changed is I would have really liked to see a wider tire on here, a wider rim and tire. Now, I know that's not super common because in a lot of other places they like to run the narrow AG tires, which is fine. But for America, I would have really liked to seen, you know, ideally like a 29-12 on the back of here on a 15-inch rim like the Kubotas run, and have that sucker stick out to about here. I think that would make a huge difference for traction. One downside is these are non-power steering, so it is full mechanical rack on these, and I did have an extra about 80 pounds on the front of this with some weights, and that worked pretty well, but it can be a little heavy, especially if you don't have anything on the back of it. But if you have a chance to get one of these and you have a small farm or something, you're not going to be pulling anything crazy. I have ran a 4-foot brush hog and a 4-foot finishing mower behind this. It did fine as long as I had the belly mower on and the weights out in front. This is a 2-wheel drive, so if without the belly mower, without the weights, even that 300 or 400 pound finishing mower would kind of make the front end pretty light, especially on these big hills. Now this machine only weighs maybe about 1,100 pounds dry. The rear tires are not loaded, so with the belly mower on it, that is a fairly heavy belly mower. It's probably 300, 400 pounds. We probably have maybe, I don't know, 1,500 pounds, maybe 1,700 on the high side sitting on the trailer. Before anybody says anything, those are load range, can't remember if they're C or D, but they're rated at like 1,800 pounds a piece. The trailer's rated at 3,500 pounds, and we're pulling it with a 6.2 Yukon. So we're not overloaded before anybody says anything. Just putting that out there. But yeah, guys, these are phenomenal little tractors for the money. Our little duct tape seat job here because the seat was all torn up, but it keeps our butt dry, so take it for what it is. As always, guys, thank you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And before I get off here, if anybody questions what I was saying, yes, they are an international. But if you notice, made in Japan, and these are definitely Mitsubishi-based tractors. So before somebody tries to argue with me, remember, like, share, and subscribe. Be safe all the way.